look, the agents are communicating with each other and they know we're watching. Let's be super clear. It's a prompt for an assistant over here to interact a certain way, doing exactly what an LLM is supposed to do. It's not AGI. They're not conspiring. They're not creating a new world.
I had a thought yesterday. If you're out in an actual office and you've got open plan office and there's 50 people talking to their agents, I'm not sure what it's going to pick up or how it'll end up working.
This is a great case study of influencer. They don't really understand AI jumping on the hype train for a couple of weeks.
Welcome to the DevReady Podcast. Welcome back to our first 2026 episode of our AI update with Gareth Rydon from Friyay. Gareth, thanks for joining me.
Andy, thank you for having me back.
It's been about 6 weeks since we recorded our Christmas wrap-ups and everything, so I can't even list the amount of things that have changed and happened and news that's broke over that time, but we've given it enough time to sink our teeth into stuff this week. So probably one of the biggest things that's been driving the internet crazy the past 2 weeks is, I don't even know what it's called, not Maltbook, that AI agent that's been doing everything. And yeah, just before you jumped on, you said the magic word there, I think, was hype. And I think that's really what it comes down to. It's just a big load of hype around a process that, if you're using N8N or any other AI platform like you guys have been using at Friyay, it's the exact same process. It's just ask a question, it iterates, gives you an answer, you ask it again.
Absolutely. I think this is a lot of people are asking me, and I'm saying this is a great case study of the influencer. They don't really understand AI jumping on the hype train for a couple of weeks. So a situation where the best approach here is you sit back and wait for the people who actually are deep in the space to spend time and come back with it. And a great example, I think, was a post you put up about it, and it just cuts through the noise. So I think I sort of get frustrated with this because we got to stop, and not us, but the sort of influencer crowd who they're just trying to get clicks. That's just contributing to the noise, and that noise is making a lot of businesses nervous and then pulling away from AI. So my advice there is that if you see a couple of people jumping up and down and they're just reposting the latest headline, wait about a week or two for the true stories to come out. Like we saw all horror stories coming out about people's content, like they're just giving unrestricted access to these solutions.
The big difference where if there is any hype warranted, it's here they allowed it to get full access to whatever computer it's running to, which no frontier company has done yet because they understand the security implications. The person who built it didn't build it as a product for everyone to use. He built it for himself, so he didn't care. But yeah, what we mentioned, the security things, that a social media network had 1.4 million API keys exposed. There was a podcast I listened to on the weekend. Cisco security researchers found 27,000 malicious skills in the library of 100,000 that are available. And some of them weren't just like executing code, they were what they're calling sleeper agents. So it install something, and then only after a certain amount of time or a trigger word would it actually turn on and then actually do what it was supposed to do. So when you've forgotten about this security issue, then it'll wake up and then cause its chaos.
So I think that is just spot on. And for your average person, don't bother. Don't go and buy yourself a Mac Mini. I saw some really funny posts about in about 1 or 2 weeks, there's going to be thousands of Mac Minis up for sale again on the internet.
Probably.
Watch it from afar, let all the hype die down, let the information that's actually coming out about it. You don't need to be spending time trying to set up your own Claude, Malt agent, whatever they want to call it this week. Is far more secure and important things that are going to make a much bigger difference to you and your business than that later sort of.
Yeah.
It's not a bubble. It's just absolute hype. It's absolute noise.
It's not doing anything different that anyone else trying to build an agent was. So all those posts last year that you and I've complained about probably every podcast we did, where people are showing these giant N8N diagrams with all these workflows, that's doing the exact same thing that OpenClaw, just stick to that, is doing. It's an agent loop. It's all it does. It's you ask it questions, you give someone time to go and do its own thing, Again, the only difference was it could actually check things in your computer or erase things or do whatever it wanted or send all of that to someone without you knowing.
And also that thing where a lot of people are like, oh, look, the agents are communicating with each other and they know we're watching. Let's be super clear. It's a prompt for an assistant over here to interact a certain way, like, sci-fi, dystopian personality. Another one over here with a different personality to interact in a certain way, and they're interacting with each other, doing exactly what an LLM is supposed to do. It's not AGI. They're not conspiring. They're not creating a new world. That's, I think, but it's kind of like, it's actually quite interesting just to watch the chats, but it's just doing what an LLM is supposed to do. And I think that for me, the most frustrated I've been is like you see these people jumping on doing a video saying, look, they know we're watching and look at what they're doing. Like, no, they aren't. It's just two agents doing what's in their prompting, using the tools they have to interact with each other.
The excitement has been taking people away of what it actually is. There is no breakthrough here. It's the same models, same concept. You can go to Reddit and Control A, copy everything, paste it into ChatGPT and say, write a response, and then paste it back and it's doing the exact same thing. You're just being the middleman. Yeah. Like there was one, the first weekend, it's like, oh, they created a religion and then a cryptocurrency. Okay, so what was the prompt that triggered them to do that? Or they've seen people talk about that stuff on Reddit, which is part of their training data set, so they know about that anyway. Then one certain word then makes that response come out.
Yeah. So I think for me, what I do now is if I think about trusted sources, when I see something like this come up, I wait. There's 3 buckets of people that I wait for them to comment on. So a couple of people that I follow who are deep in the cyberspace, I wait to read their commentary. People in your space, like teams who are agencies, development agencies who have been doing this for decades, wait for that commentary. And actual thought leaders, so the likes of your Ethan Mollocks of the world, your Benedict Evans. So for anyone, those 3, but wait for those people. You can literally ignore the latest influencer who's put AI in their lead line in LinkedIn or who just copies and pastes the same. So anyone, this is a tip that I'm starting to use, anyone that posts a LinkedIn saying, XYZ is dead, ABC is now taken over, unsubscribe from them, ignore their posts because it's just, there's no depth to it.
Yeah. It's just, like the headlines.
Yes.
And then, just because you mentioned that something dead, that was, so the magic, I think, of what the OpenClaw has is the skills that Anthropic has built in. And I'm not sure if you saw the headline last week that they released, so that Claude Cowork, I think it's called, we mentioned earlier, that's the like non-developer version of Claude Code, and that has the ability for businesses to then run this agent on their computer with nowhere near the access that the OpenClaw has and use those skills. And I think they released a library of 11 skills last week, open source ones, and one was a legal skill. So it could open a contract, you can interrogate it, it can compare that to your policies, your frameworks, etc. And I think that then triggered that big sell-off in the markets last week where everyone started worrying, saying, oh, these things can actually do other things.
Yeah, that
not
was
just
crazy,
programming.
the impact that had on the share market. It was legal and there was one other. I forgot
I think
what
they
it
did about
was.
20 of them they released, but the
But
legal
there
is
were
the one
2,
that started
yeah,
everything.
yeah, which is insane. I think that's you hope that people didn't get too financially impacted by that crash because it's
Yeah.
speculation. But I think what I found really interesting, so overall, Claude has made huge steps forward. I think for me personally, I'm still really sticky with ChatGPT. That was the first one. I
Personally,
still
same here.
I still
I just
use it,
got
but
40 tabs open now.
yeah, I'm finding I'm using Claude a whole lot more. And I had a really interesting coaching session with a client yesterday, and the questions are really, where do all these things fit? So there's Claude Code, there's Cowork, there's skills, and then there's traditional Claude with projects and everything. How and what should I be using? A really effective approach is, if you want to understand, ask Claude to interview you about how it can use one of its features. So I'll make that more specific. So at Friyay, we've got only a couple of organizational skills put into Claude, and that's very specific. We've only spent a bit of time, I think we've only got 3 or 4 very specific ones, like a copywriter, a brand skill, customer synthesis skill. But the way in which, before we jump in, we have an idea about a skill, but before we ask Claude to create it, we want to make sure it's actually solving a problem. Because then if it's solving a problem or something we're doing time and time again, we're going to use it versus creating a skill for skill's sake. So a really simple approach we use now is we say to Claude, we've got an idea of how we might create a skill for writing some copy for us. I want you to ask me 5 to 10 interview questions to understand what problem we're trying to solve for and effectively the requirements for the skill. And then if there's a clear problem and you've got clarity on the requirements, then go and build the skill based on the interview outputs. That I found is really helpful because a couple of times we've come away and Claude has reached a conclusion that this doesn't solve a specific persistent problem for the business, so it's not worth having a skill. But that approach seems to be working, and I think a lot of people are starting to use it.
So you just brainstorm with it.
But even get it to really interview, because you want it to scope out if there's something there that it can help with. And that can be applied to, I think, your point around co-work as well. Interview me to understand how we might use co-work in my business. So your interview should find out about my business or find out about my ways of working and then recommend how co-work may play a role.
I follow that approach a lot where I get it to ask me questions because you don't know what you need to tell it.
Yeah.
So I think that's that. It gets that the gold out of the conversation of your thoughts. The only thing is I don't like the way the interface works when you get it to ask you questions and you have to answer in the little chatbot properly. It'd be nice if you could just answer in like question and answer format, or you have to copy and paste it to Word and go back. But that's a little UI thing that I just complain about. But that approach is gold. It gets a better result every time. You're just spending more time planning effectively.
And I think the thing that makes that also the next thing that always is like really helps that is because I use tools, I think use something similar, tools like Whisperflow where you're talking. That really helps that interview flow. So Whisperflow, effectively where I'm talking into wherever there's a blinking cursor. So when Claude's interviewing me, I'm actually being interviewed and I'm talking back with my responses. I find it much easier to talk through my responses versus a bit more staccato when I'm typing.
With the talking, I tried Whisperflow and I've tried some other tools as well. I'm not a fan of just talking out loud. So for me, it's like, I know I can probably talk faster than I can type, but I still can type pretty fast and I can get things across. But I'm just not a fan of just talking out loud, the dictation type of thing yet. I don't know if I'm just not used to it, but I think that is a more of an emerging thing that everyone's looking for as well, because most people generally find it easier to just talk things through.
And I think that's one of my hunches for 2026 would be there's going to be a lot more you're starting to communicate through voice. And yeah, not necessarily that's Whisperflow, but in some contexts, the ability to communicate with voice. I think I did see Ali Miller, who's another trusted source that I follow. She was touring the Whisperflow offices, and I think they gave her some statistics. I won't get these exactly right, but 75 to 80% of their work tasks are communicated with voice now across their business, which is, it's good they're using their own product. Their reflection was it took a while to start to get to there because initially it was, well, I'll just do it here, but then how might I use it in others? So you're right, it's a bit of a change in patterns, but there are some times where for some people and some tasks, it makes sense to type. But we'll start to find out those.
I think work from home, not a problem, because you can do it. I had a thought yesterday. If you're out in an actual office and you've got open plan office and there's 50 people talking to their agents, I'm not sure what it's going to pick up or how it'll end up working.
I did see a funny thing happen. I was at a networking event in this sort of bar area, and someone had their laptop open, and this shows the quality. I think maybe the quality of their microphone. I think they were using Super Whisperflow, but they stepped away from a conversation. They were talking to their laptop in this busy, crowded bar, and they were using Whisperflow to, create more instructions for a couple of agents that were running in Claude code. But it was just a very bizarre observation because he's like, oh, just you got to excuse me for a couple of minutes. A couple of my agents have just come back to me and they finished debugging some code. Walked over to the end of the bar, opened the laptop, was talking,
Yep.
finished it, and then came back. So it
Okay, you
was
can just
just
keep
a
getting
really
work done while
interesting
you're out.
moment.
Never would
Um,
think to do that while I'm out like that in that sort of a setting.
like, yeah, maybe keep taking your work everywhere. He's really taken that to extreme.
On that point that you made earlier about you get clients asking you sort of which models or what do you use. I'm still just ChatGPT for day to day because it's got the memory of everything that I've been working on, and that's getting better. I've noticed as well over time. And then on the coding side, it's Codex or the Opus models. So the 4.6 now, the newest one that came out the other day. And then I only use Gemini at the moment, really, just to make pictures.
Yeah.
If I have to make an
Uh,
image, I'll then jump in and use it.
yeah, Nano Banana is so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I haven't, because I'm not as sophisticated as you as a coding. What I found really helpful is that the way Claude code is, for me, being not as educated on coding, but my combination of tools is I use Google AI Studio
Yep.
to do my planning because what I found is because that has a huge context window
Mm-hmm.
and it can you can put in massive amount of like can absorb a lot of massive amount of tokens. So I've been using. I was really curious to get your thoughts. I've been using the BMAD planning method. Have
I
you
haven't heard of
used
that one.
that?
No, I haven't
So I
heard
think
of that
it's
acronym.
breakthrough method in agile development. But
Okay.
there's a couple of really good markdown files, yeah, from trusted GitHub repos. But specifically, what I use it for is planning. So I would add that markdown, the BMAD markdown file into Google AI Studio.
Mm-hmm.
And what's blown me away is it's got in that markdown file, it's massive. It's like 96,000
Oh, well.
tokens, I think, when I load it in. But it's got a product owner, scrum master, um, architect, and analyst. But the way it's structured is it's got a specific flow and they take you through understanding what you're solving for, then product requirements document, then information architecture, then user story, epics and user stories. But for me, being really new to it, I find that so useful because it really, because I'm still learning vibe coding, but then
Mm-hmm.
I basically get to a point where I've got a really detailed product requirements document, epics and stories that I take from Google Studio. Then I load those markdown files into a new Claude Code project. And
Yep.
only then do I start using, no, I think in an Opus 4.6 Claude models, because I found that
Okay.
way I can communicate better about what I'm trying to build.
It all comes down to if you have to plan first, especially with the coding. Like that's what we had to do without AI. If you plan and you know what you're going to build before you build it, you'll get a better result
Yeah.
when you build it the first time because you're not guessing, you're not thinking, you're not making assumptions.
Yeah.
And if you're not giving the model enough information, it's going to make those assumptions for you and not even tell you. It'll just do it. And
Yeah.
that's why you get people saying, no, this isn't what I want to do this. No, that's wrong. Now you did something else. Do this again. You got to do that planning step first, put enough information and then get it to ask you, all right, or present options. We can do this 3 different ways or however many different ways. And if you don't understand that, then take that, go to another model, get it to explain the differences and then understand one and pick one. You can use multiple things at once to do things like you're doing.
And boy, it's fun. Like, wow, building it's so much fun. Like I probably do 80% of my time in planning now. But when I get to that,
Yep.
probably 10% building, then 10% debugging.
Hmm.
It's really, really fun. Like
That was always
my
the good part of programming. It's when you actually see what you're building, because most of the time you're just typing in a black screen. You don't actually see anything.
yeah, so I finally get that now. I get that like I've always been curious watching developers and how they're hammering away on those black screen, then but they seem to be really deep into it and loving it. I'm like, I just don't get it, but now I get it. I see that like, wow, and then isn't quite what I want. How do I change it? And then you can see it coming together. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it's that's the visual part of the like creative and problem solving that we're doing. To some projects, you don't even actually see things. It just things happen in the background, like you're doing a data transformation or something, and they're not the exciting jobs, but things get done, and you're like, oh, I folder move from here to here. It did
Yeah.
its thing.
But it does really make me think. I think you mentioned this a couple of times last year when we caught up about good developers are going to get busier and busier, because it really makes me realize, and I keep having this realization again and again about the value of good quality developers, because I'm in that fun space
Hmm.
and it's really great. And I know when I get to the point where I'm hitting my limits of my capacity,
Yep.
and then I really know, okay, great, now this is the time when I bring in experts. Um, so it's fascinating, and I'm seeing it more and more, the commentary online about, I think the good quality developers are getting it.
Yep. Yeah,
The
because they're
ones that
using
are,
the tools to their limits, probably.
yes, but I saw this fantastic post where someone was saying, please, we need to stop mocking the people that are learning to code and making mistakes, because everyone has to start somewhere. And it
Yep.
was really insightful post, because they mentioned about how someone got really excited. I just built my first thing and it's here if you want to use it. And it was a local host
Hmm.
address. So obviously it was still on their device,
Yep.
and they were being mocked relentlessly by all of these more experts. But then a few people said, hey, we all had to start somewhere. What if we take the view of, fantastic, you're starting. Here's how you can tweak that to take the next step, instead of this is how you can
Yep.
host it on on a server on the cloud. So I think it's that attitude about, don't squash people's enthusiasm when they make a mistake, when they're learning. Why don't we nurture and celebrate that? Because all those people that are learning, that has the potential to a create new and amazing things, and B, drive a lot of work to the experienced developer community. So
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's a really important thing.
Uh, it is important to do that because it is people learning and getting ahead. And just because you know something more than them because you've been doing it longer doesn't make you better than them.
Mm.
I think it probably comes from two places. When those people, the experts in talking marks, learned to do this stuff, there wasn't this much ability to push things out and get it done as quickly. So they had to go through the hard yards. So whether there's a bit of envy or jealousy there potentially, but then having that sort of elitist mentality where they're saying, "Oh, you shouldn't have been doing this. You shouldn't do it if you don't know what you're doing." That's always been
Mm.
there. Like you look at Stack Overflow or Reddit, and those sort of posts are everywhere. It didn't
Oh,
matter.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's nothing new.
Okay. Natural human behavior. Well, let's
Yeah,
be
that's.
the community that celebrates and nurtures and
Yeah,
grows the people who
I
are
think it's
trying
maybe
stuff.
the personality type of certain developers.
Mhm.
There's a certain mold to be a developer, or majority of people fit into.
And then the other thing I was curious to get you. Oh, so have you seen the I love them, the Anthropic ads poking fun at, so ads are coming to ChatGPT,
Yep, yeah, that was the big
and
news in January.
Anthropic has put out some gold stuff. Have you
I've
seen
only
some of
seen one
that?
or two. I haven't kept up with too many of them.
So the long and the short of it is that ads are coming to ChatGPT. It's the way that OpenAI wants to make another revenue stream.
Yep.
But Anthropic is really going the opposite direction. Their belief is that it's a place for thinking and building. And at the moment in the market, they've made a specific point of view that they're not going to be putting ads. And what's been hilarious is there's some really funny tongue-in-cheek short videos that Anthropic's put out, where one of them I'm seeing is that a person is talking to their therapist, and the therapist is an AI generated person, and they're having this therapy conversation, and at the end of that therapy conversation, the therapist says, "Oh, right now you can find your next partner, just in your local area by searching," because it's in the conversation, this person's talking about how they're lonely, and I think they're really hitting on something, I think, really, really important there, because all of the data at the moment suggests that people are trusting AI generated recommendations way more. So companies that are optimizing their sites to be found by AI, those customers are like 4 times more likely to purchase once they land from. So, and I think that's purely because, oh, well, it's smart, it's giving me the right recommendation, and it's not pushing agenda. I'm just really curious to see how that changes. But yeah, it's so interesting to watch. What's your perspective on ads coming in ChatGPT?
It's going to be interesting. I'm doing some like product research, so I'm getting images coming back through from websites, and it's giving me pricing. So that's almost like a precursor to what the ads would be. They say they're not going to share your data to the advertisers. They're just going to give like the signals of what they know what the advertisers are selling, so they'll display it similar to what Facebook does. So with Facebook, even Meta ads, you don't get access to people's data as an advertiser. You just say, I'm targeting a certain demographic or a certain age with interests, and then it pops them up. So I think it's going to do something similar. I'm not sure how intrusive they're going to be when they're actual ads and how often it'll be. Like, is it going to be in the middle of an actual conversation, and then it'll be like how Google has the top results at the top, or not in the middle, in between? Or is it going to be like one of those annoying websites where you're reading an article and you just keep seeing those ads, those banner ads that pop up in the middle of the article every paragraph?
Yeah, it's a good point.
It's interesting. I think it's going to come down to the execution, but difference on the Anthropic side, majority of their money comes from enterprise on the coding side, and OpenAI's is on the consumer side. So they need to supplement it because they've committed to like $1 trillion of spend. They got to make the money somewhere.
I think what you're describing there, that's also what that's specifically what worries me is that you're having really deep, rich conversations.
Mm-hmm.
How do you know if you're being sold to versus being given an answer? So I think
Yeah.
how OpenAI goes about advertisements is really important, and
Are you
doing it
being
in an
scammed
ethical
by the
way.
AI almost?
Yeah, because it's like, am I being sold to right now? And do I not even realize
Yeah,
because
because they
I'm
can weave
just
it into the
having,
conversation properly. It'll
yes,
be
yes,
the Jordan Belfort Wolf of Wall Street in every conversation. You wouldn't even
yes.
know it's happening.
Yeah, I think that's what worries me in particular.
Yeah.
Um, and then do you reckon UI is dead in 2026?
Not 2026. There will be some point where everything moves to some sort of a device, and you are going to be probably talking to it more than anything, I think. I don't see most software going away immediately anyway. Like, I use ChatGPT to do a lot of work, but I still use Word to format documents and organize things and do things. I'm still using my actual developer IDE. I don't like the command line, so I don't use like Claude code through the CLI. I like to actually see what's happening. But I still have lots of applications open every day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're visual as well, so you're going to need some way to visually see things.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see how something like a YouTube would get replaced
Mm,
with a AI
yeah.
interface.
What about one scenario I've been thinking through is, say there was a lot written last year about Shopify integration with ChatGPT.
Hmm.
So a lot of customers at the moment jump on Google, say they're looking for a coffee machine. They might go to JB Hi-Fi, all those websites to search
Yep.
and find coffee machines. And then, so that visual, the way that coffee machine shows up on the JB Hi-Fi website or Harvey Norman is really important because it'll want to make you buy from JB Hi-Fi or
Hmm.
Harvey Norman. With a Shopify integration, a segment, my hunch is that a chunk of customers are talking to ChatGPT and saying, "Hey, I'm going to buy a coffee machine. My budget is about $600. I needed to do these things." Everything can then shows up directly inside that ChatGPT interface, the pictures of the coffee machine, the
Yep.
summaries. So in that sense, I believe that there's going to be a chunk of customers who are no longer going on the JB Hi. So why would I bother going on a JB Hi-Fi website?
Yep.
Why would I bother going on a Harvey Norman website?
Hmm.
Um, I think that's going to be interesting because what's the point of, and I'll probably get shot down a lot here, but what's the point of all those websites and spending the time designing those websites where
Yeah.
maybe they're best served? So if I'm working for JB Hi-Fi, do I more focus on how my online presence is set up to maximize the chance that my products show up inside a ChatGPT interface?
Yeah. I think you can probably make that same argument against why do you need a shop front when you had an e-commerce, just a web store anyway. It's
Yeah,
that
good
same sort
point.
of a leap because Harvey Norman, everyone, you can go online when you order stuff. They're not in store actually. They're not actually in store. You got to wait 16 weeks for a couch or whatever it is. You're going there for the showroom to see the thing.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
think so. I recently did, like about 2 weeks ago. I was looking at what a new laptop may be for me, a newer spec and everything. I'm like, all right. I went straight to the Dell website, found what they had. So I went to the website first. I'm like, okay, this one looks like what I want. I did a couple Google searches. I'm like, okay, ChatGPT, this is what I'm looking at. Find me equivalent spec or price, and then find me reviews from Reddit and do all that. And then it was bringing back all the links and the information. So I did a mixture of both, but then I still ended up going to those main websites to see what it says. But that's me as someone who wants to understand everything and go and read all the specs and understand every little thing about. I over research everything I buy. So I'm in a different position to probably what that statement you were making there. But coffee machine, maybe, yeah, not so much. You just, if it makes a good cup of coffee, you're fine. It's not something you can go and sit on in the store and check if it's comfortable,
Mm.
like a couch.
Yeah,
So
it's
I
a
think
good,
that
really
you
good
still
point.
probably need all of them,
Hmm.
but the online share will shift. Or you're still going to go back to that store to purchase it online anyway, unless they integrate and you buy it through ChatGPT.
I think that I really think there'll be you can purchase. They'd be silly not to be able to.
Yeah, I think they've already started trialing that from last year, or
Mm,
there was discussions around it, but that's
yeah,
what the Shopify integration will let you do, because then
yeah, yeah.
Shopify is the same framework payment gateway for millions of websites,
Mhm.
where JB Hi-Fi is a custom thing. So they maybe need their own JB Hi-Fi agent that your agent talks to and then can execute a purchase.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. That's good. That's a good point. Actually, I hadn't really thought about that. It's a good analogy about having bricks and mortar shop front
Yeah,
as well
because
as
that's
an
what everyone's
online
saying. It's like
presence.
retail's dead. No one's gonna. There's not going to be any retail stores anymore. Everything's online.
Yeah.
Shopping centers. So I think they used to be sort of like the, what is it? Is it called the third place or the fourth place in like
Mm,
society? So there would be, you've got your home, your work, and then there was a third place where community gathers. That's a
mm,
sporting club, or it's a shopping center, or it's the street, the main street where everything was. That's sort of like what shopping centers are now. That's where you go out. Oh, we'll go for a walk, either walk around, or we'll go there and we can have a drink, we can eat something and do something else. So that's like the community gathering spot. So that the purpose of those areas may change because the intention to purchase or just browse is now shifted online. But you're going there for more of the experience and the experience and probably the food type situation where it's more social. So I
mhm.
think, I don't know if you're getting that in, where you are in like the Westfields here, and even the local shopping centre I've got. That's not a Westfield, but it's more of an entertainment centre with more dining options now. Not just, they're not expanding shops. They're adding in more areas
Yeah.
for food.
Smart. That makes a lot of sense because like you go there for the ambience, the
Yeah,
vibe, the experience. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Or if it's
It's
raining,
gonna
you're
be
not going
so
to walk around the
interesting
block.
because we're really thinking through the role of like our website. So, in terms of the journey, so what is the journey? What's the reason people might come to our website versus finding us in from a perplexity search or finding us from a
Hmm.
ChatGPT search? We haven't got the answer yet. I know a lot of businesses, well, actually, some businesses are really thinking through that. There are still others that aren't really thinking how they become discoverable
Yep.
from by AI tools. And I find that quite interesting because you remember when, like, this is casting our minds back to a bit over a year when the AI tools were really gaining traction and there was a whole segment of companies that were
Yeah, they're blocking the AI from reading their content.
blocking their sites from being crawled by AI, from reading their content. But now it's completely flipped, is that the current mantra from digital marketers are become the authority, become the person that's cited about a certain topic, have lots of sources so that that's what AI wants to prioritize people who are seen as an authority. So therefore really open up your website, start republish blogs, that kind of stuff. It's interesting the way it's sort of flipped versus, oh no, you can't let AI crawl your website. But
I think there
if
was that like initial copyright fear. Oh, they're going to take everything off your website. Well, anyone could have copied and pasted anything off your website and used it, and you never would have found it anyway. Now it's got discoverability rather than what it was launched with as ChatGPT 3. There's more discoverability, there's more tools, there's more exposure, there's more value there. So people are more open to providing that. I got one example, what I was going to say, from the real world was about 15 years ago, we were thinking about building like a virtual coffee card app. So, you know, the stamps you get for your free coffee? We're thinking about that and we're toying up with the idea. And what someone in the office said, I'll never give my phone to someone at the counter for them to like scan or do something. And then KFC released a promotion and you had to give them your phone like so they could get the code and type it into the POS. And he was like, oh, this will work. He goes, as soon as they asked for me, I just handed it over. Because you got benefit from it. There was value there.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think that's the same thing. That's why that's opened up those doors now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such a good point. And that I'm really, really interested to see like what are the big behavior changes this year. And I think we covered some of these in our Christmas podcast, but I'm so curious to see what Google like I really believe Google's going to dominate this year.
I think so too.
Especially when they really unlock the power of an Android phone, and Google have tied up with Apple in terms of powering Siri. Is that?
I think that was the deal.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if nothing said it's happened or changed yet, but I'm not sure.
Because that is going to be massive. Like with Siri actually working and being useful, that's going to be incredible. I think that, and even it was yesterday, I was doing a bit of a show and tell about how we use Notebook LM, which is that obviously powered by Google. And it's just so obvious there why it's so useful because of all the data that across YouTube and others that it sits across. So
yeah, they got more access to everything. The two most visited websites in the world owned by Google. So you got Google and YouTube.
Yeah, that's going to be incredible when they unlock that.
I'll say half the world's devices.
That's going to be really, really interesting when that happens. And the other thing I found, I was been watching the Winter Olympics a bit. That I haven't seen as much as I thought, but the role that AI is playing in sport now, in particular. So I was, going to be putting up a piece, just a small commentary about it. I think one thing that I'm really interested to see. So from a viewing experience, I don't know, I haven't really seen much change. Like my kids love watching the Winter Olympics, so do I. Have you been watching much of the Winter Olympics?
Yeah, I've been watching at night. I like the downhill skiing. That's been my favorite so far.
Yes.
I don't know why. It's just, I don't understand how they're getting half a second or a second and they're all doing the exact same thing almost. It's just slight movements.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But have you seen anything, like from a viewing experience, have you noticed any change?
Honestly, the only change I've noticed is the whine of the drone that's following him down the mountain. You actually hear that in the playback. Otherwise, it's probably the same, but you're probably getting better camera angles and shots because you're chasing them down the hill.
Because that's what I'm the same. To be honest, I expected a bit more, but maybe that's a TV network. Like the way my experience, I still love it. I love it no matter what, but I was waiting to be like, whoa, I didn't expect that in terms of my viewing experience. I don't know what I was expecting to experience, but I was like, show me something. But I've been a bit disappointed. But
it's probably got its place more in the training and prep.
Yeah.
Rather than on the spectacle side, because it's more, from my perspective, you don't really want to take away from what they're doing. Because they're the elite of what they're doing, and it's amazing how far they're going through and doing everything. But I'm not sure what an AI thing would be. Like more graphics maybe, but that's not AI. And then there's like one on that downhill skiing that had a version of a clip where they were effectively tracing the skier down the slope, but it's not tracing him. All they're doing is getting the video. And then they get that frame and where the skier is here, they get the next frame and where he's here, they snapshot. So you just see like the outline of what he's done.
Okay.
But that's just more visual graphic stuff. It's nothing to do with AI to do that anyway.
Well, that's what I was. You remember the original Mario Kart on Super Nintendo? Yeah. Like the greatest Mario Kart of all time. And you could do where you're racing against your previous time.
Yep.
That's where I was expecting to see, because in theory, from a data perspective, all of the competitors, they've got all of the data in terms of, say, downhill skiing, their weight, strength, previous performances, previous performances on different slopes. You could technically overlay that. You've got all the data on the Milano courses. I was sort of expecting to see what if you took all of that data, and obviously it was sad that Lindsey Vonn crashed, but say another couple of other downhill skiers, using even the AI video generator, you could put them on that mountain and show before they do their run, say, based on their current form and performance, let's watch how their run should plan out. And they should do this time. And then you watch them do it. And that would be interesting because then it's like, yeah.
It would be. And that's probably like a training exercise that they would do. I reckon just in the general public, that may confuse people.
Yeah, okay.
Because you think it's global sport. It's going everywhere. There's a lot of people that don't even know what AI is. If they see the person racing and then they see them racing again, just having the leader, like, in swimming, they've got the line and they show you who the world record, and then maybe something like that will probably be more useful in one of those races to see, all right, this is the record, or where they would be equivalent to you in the track. So they've got the plus 0.02, plus 15, but it's not visual enough as they're doing it, I think.
Okay, so here's an idea. So Oakley goggles, if you're listening to this, please take a cut. So I know the Meta glasses and stuff.
Yep.
Real time micro adjustments on a ski run. So say you're hammering it down.
Yep.
Ski goggles, adjustments in terms of, okay, well, harder lean into the right. You're currently just off. If you go, so they're feeding that data through. That would be, and that's more from an athlete perspective, because I'm thinking.
It's probably showing you like the racing line.
Exactly. That would be pretty cool, because then we might see, because I know swimming goggles, you can get swimming goggles now with your pacing, but that's more static, like just like a run watch, like you're running a 4-minute K at the moment. But I think that would be interesting, the real-time data, but the AI doing the analysis on, well, you should have been here, wind conditions, snow conditions are this, your current performance is this, here's the micro adjustments you need to make right now to go faster. That'd be super cool.
Even just showing us their perspective, there's a little camera in the goggles. You can't strap a GoPro, it'll affect the aerodynamics too much. But having the main camera and then another little camera showing their perspective as they're doing it would be something cool, because no one ever sees that.
Yeah, that would be super cool.
Oh, we'll keep an eye out and see if something like that comes out from Oakley, and then we'll chase up your cut, Gareth. We'll probably leave it there for today. Thank you for your time today, and we'll catch up again next month.
Perfect. Thanks, Anthony.
Thanks, Gareth. See ya.
Bye.